My overwinter success in honeybees boils down to one thing, and a lot of beekeepers get this wrong. I'm going to explain about the wrong thinking, but the most important thing, it boils down to this one date. It happened. This is October the 1st, and what's happened in my apiary, in my area, is we have a dearth. I watch for this. I'm looking for this date with a fine-tooth comb to figure out when it starts. The minute it starts, I have to go to work, because I'm going to show you today how important it is to do something once you notice a dearth. If you fail to do it, it could really cost your bees in the wintertime. Now let's get into first, how do you find out if you're in a dearth? Now the way that I determined today was the first day of the dearth was by three ways, okay? Number one, what I did was I looked and watched carefully all year, because the only crop that really is significant, the only plant that's significant for me, is the goldenrod. And so I simply look. You want to take a visual look at the goldenrod in your area, get in your car and drive around if you have to, pull over, study the goldenrod patches, and monitor the goldenrod. It should be a bright yellow, and if it is, that means that it is in full bloom. Bees are getting nectar and pollen from it and really utilizing it. Once it loses its bright yellow color, and especially if it begins to turn kind of, grayish like you see here, this means that the plant is no longer yielding any pollen or any nectar. It's dried up, it's over. The second way, and a lot of people don't know this way, is the water source. Now, if you look at this water source here, you can see there are a lot of bees at it. Look at all the bees that are on this water source. How do I know this signals a dearth? Because I watch it carefully. I watch the water source. Now, during the last few weeks, we've had a really good run on the goldenrod. And during that time, the goldenrod was producing really well. The bees stopped coming here to this water area, this bird bath. They stopped. There was nobody here. There was no bees at all. Now, why is that? Why would bees, before the goldenrod bloomed, during the little dearth we had between clover and goldenrod, the bees were all at the water trough. But now they took a break and they weren't there during the goldenrod. That's because the nectar from goldenrod and most plants is about 80 to 90% water. That's right. They're getting their moisture from the nectar. They're getting the water, the moisture they need from the actual nectar. So they don't need to go to the water source for it. The third way you can tell that your hive is going through a dearth is because you can look at the entrance. A lot of people don't know how to judge the entrance, but once you've been an experienced beekeeper in your area, you'll know that you can look at the entrance and you can tell when there's a heavy nectar flow, because bees are just whoom, 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 whoom. They're going in and out really fast. It's just crazy, right? You can't count them. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, oh, I can't count anymore. 5 of them land at the same time, 10 of them take off at the same time. I was literally watching 2 days ago during a heavy nectar flow of the goldenrod, and I was watching, and there would be 15, 20 or more bees leaving at the same time off the bottom board. Now that's a nectar flow. But if you look now, you can count them. You don't see that many going anymore. And that's because they're just not going out there, because it's dried up, it's over. All hands on deck. What's going to be most important for me and you is to right now, let's support what the bees are doing. They were using goldenrod to raise a lot of brood. They were using the pollen, they were using the nectar to actually feed up the nurse bees to raise a lot of winter bees, right? And so if we don't let that continue, then we'll have less nurse bees that can feed the brood, larvae, particularly the royal jelly, the first 3 days of the larvae stage. And so what's going to happen, we'll have less winter bees. Less bees in the hive in the wintertime means less heat. So we need a lot of bees in there to produce the heat, to keep the hive warm in that cold time. And it sounds like this winter is going to be an exceptionally cold winter. Who knows? But that's what prediction models are showing. So we want to be prepared. I mean, just think about it. Don't you want bees of winter physiology? And it's so important to feed them this time of the year, because they're used to being fed, and all at once they're not, and they will stop raising brood. But if we can give them this feeding with the additives in it is going to make a huge difference. And it's really easy to do with my feeding board that's protected by screen. Look at that, no bees. You can just spend a few weeks in the fall continuing to support raising bees of winter physiology. Well, you can see here, I'm taking steps today. So if I can support them, what was happening, and that was they were bringing in a lot of nectar and pollen, if I can support that with my feeder board, with my feeding, one-to-one sugar water, and my additives, it can prolong the period of time that they continue to raise brood of winter physiology. Another word for that is diutinous bees, long-lived bees. Now you may ask, David, I've always heard 2-to-1 is what you're supposed to feed in the fall. I assure you that if you're not going to feed in the winter time and you're wanting your bees, they don't have any stored honey on there, that's usually a good thing to do. Think about this though. I don't really care right now how much honey I have on there, because if I don't have a lot of bees of winter physiology to eat that honey, it won't make any difference. No bees will be there. That's what beekeepers sometimes don't understand, because an old traditional kind of way of approach is still in practice. And a lot of people will stand by this approach thinking we just need a whole bunch of bees and a whole bunch of honey in there. In October, we'll be fine. But really, these bees that you're seeing now are going to die off before Christmas. What you need is brood in there. And the brood that you see is going to be bees of winter physiology. So think like this. I've done this for years, and I feed them 1-to-1. That's simulating what the plant produces, a very light type of sugar water, much like nectar. And I put my additives in there, especially the protein, that kind of compensates for the lack of protein that naturally comes through pollen that's also in the nectar they gather. So I just simply try to carry out the season longer. Even though out there it stops, I try to get my bees to raise more brood, bees of winter physiology. I've explained it very simply to you. I'm a certified master beekeeper with the Eastern Apicultural Society. I've practiced this method for nearly a decade and a half. And it works so well. It helps so much. If you've never done it, or maybe some people give you resistance on trying to not do something of the traditional way of doing things, I would challenge you to at least experiment. Maybe not with all your hives if you're not comfortable, but some of your hives, experiment with this practice that I'm telling you. Feed a thinner syrup in the fall to help them raise more bees of winter physiology. Add some protein powder to that mixture of sugar water. It doesn't take much at all, just a little supportive protein. That helps the nurse bees being able to produce and feed more developing larvae to be those winter bees. If the young larvae isn't fed, all studies support this. If the larvae is not fed well by nurse bees, then that larvae will become adults, and those adult bees are usually smaller. They have foraging issues, they have waggle dance issues, they die earlier. It's just not good. They need a lot of good brood food while they're developing, and that's why we're supporting it with our 1-to-1, with our additives. It's mind-blowing how well this works. So if you're not comfortable with it, or you've never done it before, or somebody at your club's telling you you're stupid for trying it, you can watch my videos for over a decade and a half now of me doing it and see my bees coming out of winter so strong. But try it and see if this doesn't change how you view getting your bees ready for winter. Normally bees swarm in the spring, but occasionally they do swarm in the fall, especially during that goldenrod run of nectar we had up until today. And when those bees get all that nectar coming in, they think that they can reproduce and make another hive, another swarm. And so one of my hives did that. I caught it, I put it in a box, and what I'm going to try to do for you guys, for us, as an experiment, is can we overwinter this brand new swarm, probably 20,000 bees maybe, and we're going to see if we can overwinter them in a single deep box. I mean, you're asking me that all the time. Can a swarm late in the year make it through winter? Can you overwinter in a single deep? What the heck? Let's try it and see. Watch the start of this series on can this hive survive winter, a new swarm in a single deep. I'll see you guys over there.